Hi, I'm Eddie Sunderji, and welcome to another episode of Nucleus 195's Pro Insights. Today we're speaking with Lucas Kuemmerle, founder at Kuemmerle Research. Lucas, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Mehdi, thanks for having me. Pleasure being on the show.
So let's dive right in. I'd love to hear a bit about your background and what led you to found Kuemmerle Research.
Yeah, sure. My name is Lucas Kuemmerle. In my 20s, from Germany. I'm living in the north of Frankfurt, where the banking district basically in Germany is. I have a brief farming background because in the city where I live, farming is still a big thing. And this was also my early beginning to get basically into the commodity space, which is basically what we do at Kuemmerle Research. We provide institutional clients with the adequate research. From my background, basically, I have a banking professional, worked at the bank for a few years. I'm a long-term trader in the commodity space, basically since 2018. So quite a couple of years by now. And on the other hand, I'm still working as a financial journalist at the side as well. So these are the two worlds I'm currently in the research space and in the journalism space. Here in my early banking days, I really noticed that there's quite a lot of research about stocks, about macro, but less about commodities itself. And as commodities in the region where I live is still quite a huge topic, I wondered why this is the case. And I dug a little bit deeper, looked it up, and really found that there is still not that high quality commodity research that I would like to read. And from there on, my little journey began, basically. Developed my own research approach in analyzing the markets, started trading the markets as well. So always skin in the game. And yeah, that's basically the way how Kuemmerle Research was starting out.
So thank you for that, Lucas. And obviously commodities is quite a broad spectrum as a focus. What would you say is your primary focus on the type of research you're offering in the space?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Mehdi. I mean, there's so many topics to cover. I think many commodity analysts look only at the most liquid commodities, like you name it, oil, gas, and perhaps gold. We do it a little bit different. We really look at all niche sectors that there are traded in the US and the ICE and the CME. So we're talking about the energy complex, we talk about the soft market complex, we talk about the grain complex, as well as the metals complex. These are the subjects we're interested in. And in this regard, we offer a structured product. We issue a monthly report where we talk about the big picture trend in the commodity markets and forecast where we're likely headed over the next month, with forecasting time horizon from 6 to 12 months. And as I know that analysts and money managers really also want weekly updates to know what is actually going on in the markets, we also provide a weekly report with weekly commentary where we show what was happening in the last week, what will be important the next week, and also which trades we are currently playing on the long and the short side, and what investors really should look out for. I think it's also important to highlight that this approach and the structured product that we developed was developed actually with asset managers together to really meet the needs that people in the space actually have. Besides from that, of course, we also offer bespoke calls with clients to really meet the individual needs of investors. If they, for example, only want to get information about a specific sector, or if, for example, only an institutional investor needs research in the cotton space or any other commodity that we cover.
So, Lucas, you touched on it there. It's a very, I don't know why more people don't work with asset managers if they're producing a platform for them and for their consumption and bring their input into how they produce that research. So, kudos to you on that. How would you say you differentiate yourself from your peers in the commodity research space?
I think the key word here is practicability. So we really want to offer research that clients can put into action. We have a process where we look at the macro trends. We look at, as I said before, the big picture where the overall commodity complex is headed. Then we look at the micro sectors. So each commodity subsector market specifics. For example, if you look in the orange market, you have specific market characterizations you can look at, you can evaluate, and this is very important for us to separate between the big macro trend and the more little but equally important micro trends. And if we find potential setups, we apply our timing solutions and our risk management. We publish our trades, all transparent and communicated to our clients. From the process standpoint, so how do we actually analyze things? We evaluate lots of COT data that is publicly available. Of course, like probably everyone, we look at where we are in the economic cycle and where we're headed. We love to evaluate correlations between commodity sectors, but also financial instruments and commodity sectors. I think it's quite a unique characteristic that we do as well. We evaluate a ton of spreads, short-term spreads in the futures world, as well as longer-term or longer-dated spreads. And with all this data, we also created a little database from which we gain our information and our charts, which we also publish in our reports. Besides that, what also is a bullet point, I think, is that we have no maximalistic views. So we can say we believe in the cyclical commodity market, but also can say that perhaps now is not the time to go all in the commodity market because there is an economic downturn. So what I would like to say with that is, even if we have strong opinions, there is no straight line. So if fundamentals change, we have to adapt. And no maximalistic views. That's important bullet point as well. And at the end, I think it's also the practicability. Clients really can do the same trades in form of futures, in form of ETFs, sometimes also in liquid single stocks that we do as well. As I said before, we do all our trades in the futures world, so with structured derivative products. But most of the time, they're ETFs or single stocks that have a high correlation to futures prices as well. So there is this option as well.
Understood. And it's certainly an interesting time to be involved in the commodity and macro research side of things. Looking at what's happening in the market at the moment, do you feel there are any commodities or factors that have been overlooked by investors?
Certainly, I think there are quite a few trends that really don't get the headlines they should in the newspapers, perhaps. I think the story that is most known is the industrial metal story, that we need a lot of industrial metals on our way to the green transition and to get a greener future, if you will say so. I think another topic that will become even more important going forward is the draft thematic in the US, but also in Europe. We have problems with getting enough water. We have extreme weather events. And these extreme weather events lead, on the one hand, to more droughts. On the other hand, if it then really starts to rain, it leads to floods. So these weather events, of course, affect many commodities. And this is really a trend investors should look out for. That's also why we are heavily using weather forecasts and weather data in per se. And last but not least, of course, we have the energy complex. Energy is life. All commodities are basically highly affected by energy prices, because if you're a farmer, you just have to need your diesel for your tractor, your propane. These are all things that farmers need. Fertilizers, on the other hand, fertilizers are mostly made of natural gas. So it's highly connected, complex, the commodity world. And there are certainly many trends that are evolving here right now.
And what do you think as we're at the tail end of 2022, or almost at tail end of 2022, what do you think 2023 holds for the commodity cycle, and where do we go from here?
Yeah. I think at the beginning, I would say we still believe in a cyclical bull market in the commodity complex, if we speak about commodities at a broad complex and not in a niche subsectors. I mean, the big fundamental issues are still in place. We just haven't seen enough capex in these sectors. We have climate change, extreme weather events, only to name a few fundamental issues that we still have and that are far from solved. Nevertheless, and I was touching at this topic earlier in our conversation, we are still in a period of slowing economic growth. And what we, for example, can see that, or many people can perhaps see, is that there are visible signs of demand destruction in all kinds of sectors. And this leads us to the thesis that, yeah, there's a long-term commodity bull market, but it's paused and it's delayed into the future as economic growth is declining. Until this cycle reverses again, until the PMIs of the world are turning up again, until the liquidity impulse is turning up again, we think some time will pass. We're looking at something like the beginning of Q2 of 2023, once the cycle could turn around and commodity prices could jump to higher highs. But we are still quite a way off of this trend. Yeah, that's how I would describe the current picture in the commodity market. Yeah.
It's a very interesting picture you paint there. Lucas, I really want to thank you for taking the time to tell us about Kuemmerle Research. It's a very interesting space.
Thank you, Mehdi, and thanks for having me on the show.
And to all of you watching, you can access Lucas and the rest of the team at Kuemmerle Research's content by signing up to Nucleus 195 through the links provided here. Until next time, thank you for watching and good luck investing.